Hi everybody, thank you so much for joining us here in LiveFit Kitchen. We have Dr. Purcell with us again, and this is actually the first in a very exciting series that we're doing. We're going to do a whole series on Thanksgiving. So, we all know that that can be a holiday that's just filled with calories that we don't need, or we can make really healthy choices, and the recipes are Dr. Purcell's. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're very welcome, Alicia.
So I'm really excited. Her recipes are great, and also very exciting tonight. We each have our own microphones, so you should be able to hear both of us perfectly. It's really cool. Yay! Another step forward for LiveFit. So our recipe tonight, a root vegetable mash. Talk to us about this one.
Okay, so tonight's recipe, the root vegetable mash, is 2 cups of butternut squash, a cup of sweet potato, 2 small baby turnips, and I like the white turnips that are a little bit purple. So these aren't these big, hard, waxy kind that you may be used to. They're the smaller purple variety. Half a cup of unsweetened almond milk, 1 medium yellow onion, a half a teaspoon of yerba mate seasoning, and 1 to 2 pinches of sea salt.
So Dr. Purcell trusted me to do the trial prep in my kitchen at home today, and there are actually a few different ways to get the vegetables ready for the mash. So talk us through that, because it's important which one you choose.
Okay, so root vegetables are so important for us because they're rich in phytochemicals, and plants, fruits, vegetables, all of them provide us with these healthy antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals, things that actually boost our immune system and fight off bacteria and infections. And so when we're cooking root vegetables, we can cook them in one of 3 ways. As we know, they're hard, they come from under the ground, and they're just not something you can saute up. They take a little bit more time to cook. And so the first thing that we can do is put them in a pot of water and boil them. However, it's the least desirable way to cook a root vegetable because boiling them leaches all of those important phytochemicals out into the water. The second choice is to steam them. So we put them in a little bit of water at the bottom of the pot. We put the vegetables in and we put the lid on, and then they steam as the water comes up through the vegetable. The third way to cook them is to stick them in the oven and actually roast them. That preserves all of the vitamins and minerals. However, it's undesirable for this recipe to roast them because the vegetables won't have as much moisture, and therefore our mash won't be as creamy and delicious. So for our recipe, we steamed the vegetables.
We did. I used my Dutch oven, which is kind of like a crock pot, but it's cast iron. It has a big heavy lid and it goes in the oven. You could probably use a crock pot too, but I would put it on high. So I chopped the vegetables into approximately equal-sized pieces, hoping that they would cook at the same speed, but having no idea. So I crossed my fingers, chopped them up, and I put just about maybe half an inch of water in the bottom of my Dutch oven. Really not very much at all. In fact, I used 1 cup. Actually 8 ounces of water in, I think it's about a 5-quart Dutch oven, so it's really not very much water on the bottom. And then I just piled the vegetables in. Now if I had it to do over, I'd have put the sweet potato on the bottom and then the turnips and then the butternut squash on the top. But as it happened, the butternut squash went in first, and it cooked a little bit faster being down the bottom in the water there. So if I was doing it over, I'd reverse that. But it was happy coincidence that I happened to decide to steam them in the Dutch oven that way, because I really had no idea. And roasting, I just, for whatever reason, just didn't do. And I knew that I couldn't stand there and watch them boil. So hooray, we got it right. So the size pieces, because I know people are often concerned about what size to cut things into, just because I wanted things to cook quickly, I cut my sweet potatoes into little 1/2 inch or less rounds.
And she kept the skin on.
I did keep the skin on. The recipe says on or off, but on for extra fiber and nutrients, so I left the skin on. I like sweet potato skins. My butternut squash is so mushy that I actually can't pick it up to show you, but I also cut that, you know what a butternut squash looks like, the big bulb and the bit sticking up the top. I cut it in half first and then sliced the pieces into about 1/2 inch thickness. Now my mistake was not to remove the skin, so I had to do that after I cooked it. That was a little bit messy. Read the directions first, remove the skin before you put them in the oven. And then my turnips, it said small, and I don't know if I went too small because my turnips were really pretty little, but I ended up with about 1 cup of
inch-sized pieces.
Yeah, little inch-sized cube pieces. So we have a cup of the sweet potato, a cup of turnips, and about 2 cups of the butternut squash. So we're ready to put it together.
Let's put it together. She also kept the skins on the turnips because these are the tender, smaller variety, and it's completely fine to leave the skins on. Again,
that's lucky. Didn't even think about it.
They provide more fiber. All right, let's
Oh dear.
mash
Okay,
it
so
up.
everything in the bowl, right?
Right, all the root vegetables in the bowl.
Oh, and then the onion. I actually cooked a couple of onions. This is about the size onion that I used. I was hoping that that counted as medium. Yellow or brown is fine for the recipe. But because I use onion in so many things that I make, I cooked a few of them and then just took a 1 onion size portion to use in this recipe, because you know you can save a lot of time if you pre-cook like that. So, okay, so all the root vegetables are in. Time for the almond milk, or do I mash first? I've never done this.
It's time to mash. And so what Alicia did was she took all her root vegetables and she steamed them up, and now we're mashing them. What she also did on the side, which she prepared in her own kitchen before we got to the LiveFit Kitchen today, was she sauteed the onions in a little bit of olive oil. And that allowed them to get a little caramelized and sweet. And of course, that takes that really pungent taste out of the onion, which will allow it to complement our steamed root vegetables. So there she is mashing away at the root vegetables.
My first ever time mashing. How cool is this?
It's the first time for everything. And then we're going to add the almond milk. So again, it's 1/2 cup of the unsweetened almond milk that gets added to the mash. So for those of you out there who ever mash potatoes, it's pretty much the same thing. You just want to mash up your vegetables, add in the almond milk, where maybe in the past you added the milk or the cream to your potatoes. Gives them a little bit of a creamy bit. Now, of course, you can put these in a whipper and really whip them up and make them nice and fluffy, maybe how you're used to eating potatoes. This is much healthier than mashed potatoes. The reason is we're using a lot of vegetables here that are orange in color, which means that they're very high in vitamin A. They're also very high in vitamin C. So anytime we're thinking about something orange that comes from nature, we're thinking high in vitamin A. Vitamin A is very important for our immune system. It actually keeps our mucous membranes healthy, which means that sinuses, the back of our throat, anything that's prone to chronic infections, vitamin A actually boosts our immune system and protects us against little critters who want to grow on those mucous membranes. Oh, it's looking really good. Mm-hmm.
Look at that.
It's looking very creamy.
It is. Okay, so next
it's time to add the onions. These are our caramelized onions. We're going to stir them in there.
Oh, this whole mashing business is so neat.
Delicious.
Doesn't that look good? Jason just asked how I caramelized them. What I did was I used the 1 tablespoon of olive oil that the recipe called for, and then I cut the onion into little pieces, just, you know, little itty bitty bits, and heated the olive oil first and then threw the onions in the pan, and I just stirred them every minute or two just as I was doing other things in the kitchen, and they were probably in there. They went clear first, and then I cooked them a little bit more until they almost started to brown a little bit, and it took less than 10 minutes, but I didn't time it exactly.
You can tell when the onions start to caramelize because they will no longer smell pungent and they will actually start to smell a little sweet. And I'll just notice too that the olive oil was not added to our recipe here, so it's important for you to know it's 1 tablespoon of olive oil, which helps caramelize the onions.
My mistake. I wrote it in a hurry.
Yeah, the mash is looking really good though. It's looking very creamy. Good job mashing, Alicia.
Woohoo!
And we're going to go ahead and add our herb amare. I love this.
What is it?
Herb. It's a lovely blend of celery seed and all different kinds of herbs. It actually has a little bit of sea salt in it, but it really brings out the flavor for vegetables. If you're even steaming broccoli and you drizzle a little herb amare and maybe a little olive oil on it, it just really brings out the flavor. So I add it to a lot of my homemade soups. And then of course, we'll mix that in. I think we should taste it to see if it's necessary to add the sea salt, and then we'll add a pinch of sea salt if we need to.
Now, I got the herb amare at our health food store, Mother's, that we have nearby, but is it also available in like regular markets, or will it only be a health food store
That's
item?
a really good question. I'm pretty sure that the herb amare will only be available in health markets. So your Henry's, your Mother's, your Whole Foods, Sprouts should have it, and I'm sure that you can purchase it online.
Okay, so taste test number 1. You've tasted this before, so maybe you should tell me if it needs the sea salt.
Okay. I think it's excellent, just the way it is.
Wow, okay. So we will not have Jason coming on to do the taste test tonight, unfortunately. Jason has been running and doesn't feel very pretty, and actually does look pretty sweaty and you know, whatever in his running clothes. So I will be the official new taste tester tonight. See, and doesn't that look good? So
and now
healthy.
you won't be deprived when you're at Thanksgiving dinner and everyone else is eating mashed potatoes, but you're eating vitamin A whipped root vegetables.
I think you should feed this to all of your family as well. Don't even give them potatoes. It's really good. It's that little bit of sweetness from the sweet potato, the herb amari you can definitely taste, and there's just that little sort of savory from the onion, but the onions are sweet too.
A lot of flavor.
It's a winner. Thanks for joining us.